I recognize the Territorial at-Large Member, Honourable Lorna Smith.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I also rise reluctantly to speak on this bill before us, and I say reluctantly because the night is far spent and we need the time to debate, to properly debate this very important bill. We have asked for more time, and since that is not forthcoming, we will at least have to proceed with the debate. I fully support the point made by my colleague from the 6th that people need the time to understand, to ventilate, to do whatever is necessary to understand these very important pieces of legislation. The Police Amendment Bill, which is now the Police Amendment Act, we were able to get through. And now this cybercrime bill is another one that needs, computer misuse and cybercrime bill is another one that needs the time to be properly ventilated. Madam Speaker, I rise in support of this bill because it strengthens our position, as the Premier said, in relation to the mutual evaluation report. Madam Speaker, the report that we received last year was much less than favorable. It is a report that immediately we committed to fixing the day it came out. We published our National Action Plan, and I believe, in fact, I know that the amendment to the Police Act, and with that also the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Amendment Bill, is a part of what we have to fix. But I do agree with my colleague that we need the time to do so. I want to commend, Madam Speaker, the team that was here during the committee stage. I want to congratulate them and to thank them for their guidance, for their support, and for them working with this House to produce an amendment to the Police Act that I believe the country will be pleased with. There was plenty of apprehension in relation to that amendment, in relation to that bill, but I believe that together with the technical people from the Attorney General's office, as well as the police, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, that we've come up with a bill or an act that we can be all very pleased with. And I want to take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, because during the last debate, I made the point in relation to the police force, and I was using a report. In fact, I used a report that we are still awaiting the second volume of, that was less than complimentary about the police in some respects. I want to make it clear, Madam Speaker, that I have the greatest respect for our police force and their capabilities. We have very fine men and women on our police force, and certainly the officer that was here assisting us as an acting superintendent is an excellent example of the kind of men and women we have on our police force. I have no doubt, Madam Speaker, that, and I hope that the committee stage will come at another point, maybe tomorrow or next week. I have no doubt, Madam Speaker, that we will end up with a piece of legislation, an amendment that we will be pleased with. My colleague from the 6th, I want to also say before I speak to one or two of the points that were made and that he made very eloquently. I want to also say, Madam Speaker, that the world, in relation to the mutual evaluation report, the world is not just looking at us, it's not just observing us. The world is drawing their own conclusions. In fact, ahead of whether we get on a gray list or a black list, they may very well make their own determination. So we must be seen to be moving with alacrity. We must be seen to be moving with purpose in terms of doing what needs to be done in relation to this bill, the Computer Misuse and the Cybercrime Amendment Bill. Now, a couple of points, a couple of specifics in relation to Section 2, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act is amended in Section 2, in subsection 1, in the definition of the word computer by inserting after the words the internet, the words digital video recorder, closed circuit television, cellular phone, and by inserting in their proper alphabetical order, etc. The point I wanted to make in relation to the cellular phone, yes, we have to be concerned about cellular phones, but we know on the other hand that cellular phones can be as good or better than computers. But Madam Speaker, I am sure that when it comes to the committee stage, we will get it right. Madam Speaker, the member for the 6th spoke at length about the whole area of common law. And this was indeed a weakness that was identified in the mutual evaluation report. And if I may be permitted, I'll read a small section. It says that, again, as I said before, in terms of the areas, some of the areas, they were mostly met, but we were lacking, and I hope that we will be able to meet the gap, close the gap as soon as possible. But there's a section that reads, authorities indicated to the assessment team, this was the team that came last year to do the evaluation, or the year before, 2023, that the common law allows for such operations and submitted a court ruling from the High Court, which admitted as evidence an audio recording made covertly by law enforcement in a murder case. However, there lacks, and this is the important point I want to make, there lacks an appropriate implementing legal framework in the Virgin Islands, as was pointed out by the judge in his ruling. The need for an implementing mechanism is further supported by legislation that, as far as they understood, was being drafted to provide such a legal framework. So it is important, Madam Speaker, that we not just rely on common law, but that we have a proper implementing framework and that we are relying on case law. Now, I don't need to spend too much time on the point made by my colleague from the 6th District in relation to people coming into the police, a police officer coming into your house for one thing and taking something completely different. These are the reasons, this is an example and one of the reasons why we need time to really look at what is proposed and time to fix what is there. He's absolutely right, because the section says a police officer who is lawfully on premises through the authority of a court order under another enactment, may, if the police officer has reason to believe that stored data would be relevant for the purpose of any criminal investigation or any criminal prosecution, seize the computer. And then section 2 says, a police officer in lawful possession of the computer under subsection 1 may apply for a warrant under section 14L1 to access and examine the data stored on the computer and to exercise such other powers specified under section 14L2. So, Madam Speaker, we all understand and we all welcome the fact that in 2007 we got a constitution that had a whole section on human rights, and we respect those human rights, we live by those human rights, and we have to make sure, as I said before, that we balance the rights of our people with making sure that there is not excessive force. And so, as I said before, we need time to make sure that we get this piece of legislation right. I do welcome, Madam Speaker, section 14Q, which says that indecent data order, section 14Q is amended, by deleting the words indecent data order, that the indecent data and substituting the words harmful content under order that the harmful content, let me read that again. Section 14Q is amended by deleting the words indecent order that the indecent data and substituting the words harmful content order that the harmful content. And then in the objects and reasons it explains that the principal act is amended to replace references to indecent data with references to harmful content. This provision seeks to modernize the language of the Act and broaden its application to include content that is not only indecent, but also harmful or illegal. So, Madam Speaker, there are some good things that this computer misuse amendment bill will do. But as I said before, we must take our time to go through it and make sure that we get it right. The Deputy Premier made reference to Section 14T, authorization to provide technical assistance. I also welcome technical assistance when it is needed, and I agree with him that where we need the advice, where we need the regulations, that they be done properly and that there be an affirmative piece of affirmative order in the House made. Madam Speaker, with those few comments, I would like to thank you for allowing me to join the debate. And as I said before, I hope and I pray that there is time for a proper debate and a proper study of this bill that would give us the kind of balance between making sure that the rights of the people of this territory are not trodden on, and that the rights of, well, there's a balance between the rights of our people and the rights of and making sure that crime is dealt with as it should be appropriately. Thank you, Madam Speaker.